We had saved up for years. We were on our way to our holiday of a lifetime in America, driving along the M25 to the airport with loads of time to spare, when these idiots started laying down on the motorway, blocking the road with big signs saying, "Insulate Britain." Insulate Britain? We were fuming. Some of these reprobates had actually glued themselves to the fucking road. What is happening? Today I'm going to be offering my own personal views on the Insulate Britain movement, and whether or not you live in Britain, the wider ramifications of what is happening here are relevant to people wherever you are on this planet we share. So today I'm going to cover: do Insulate Britain have a valid point? Spoiler alert, yes they do. What is their point? And are they going about making it in the right way? Spoiler alert, I'm not sure if they actually are. And then I'm going to try and link this into the current man-made fuel crisis in Britain that will hopefully be resolved before this video actually goes out, which is going to be in about a week or so. And then we're going to finish with Doris, my new assistant.
Do you feel guilty?
There she is, with the "why aren't people angry about this" postbag. So do stick around for that one. Let's get on with it. I moved into my current home about 4 years ago, and after a short time I realised that the old gas boiler, not my girlfriend, but the actual gas boiler in my home, was old, inefficient and needed replacing. I was not quite on the journey I am today, but was aware that it was best to move away from fossil fuels, so I started looking at alternatives. The idea at the time that electricity could be a greener fuel than natural gas was kind of alien to me, but it turns out it was. I mean, natural gas, we were brought up to believe that it was greener, more natural fuel than electricity. Natural gas, early greenwashing perhaps. Anyway, I eventually settled on, or at least I thought I had, an air source heat pump. But further investigation revealed that heat pumps rely on either a well-insulated home and or a lot more radiators to actually work, since the heat they give out is it's quite a lot lower than other conventional heating systems like gas. When I did the sums, I could actually afford to put in the heat pump, but I couldn't afford to insulate my typically leaky 1930s built British home as well. Had there been a grant available, I would have definitely gone for this option, but there wasn't and there isn't. So here we go, another overprivileged twat trying to get something for nothing. Let's just for the purpose of this assume that this is all true and that I am an overprivileged twat trying to get something for nothing. But now that makes me an overprivileged twat with a new fossil fuel boiler. And trust me, if we're going to stop the climate crisis turning into a catastrophe and indeed Armageddon, then insulating our homes and moving away from fossil fuels is one of the many things that we must do. The government knows this and committed last year as part of their 10-point green industrial revolution to do this with these wonderful words: action on buildings can rapidly support jobs and level up across the country. It's that level up language, love that. In addition to supporting around 50,000 jobs by 2030. Today's announcements provide an opportunity to develop the growing UK heat pump manufacturing base and expand supply chains for building efficiency. Funding and regulatory measures delivered in partnership with industry will stimulate near-term investment while supporting the most vulnerable. Isn't that lovely from a Conservative government? Yet since this was announced in November last year, only last year, the government had pulled the plug on this initiative as if it never even happened. So the bottom line here is that all Insulate Britain being the organisation, are trying to do is to get the government to recommit to this initiative that they have completely reneged on. Because unlike Boris Johnson's populist rhetoric that can't look beyond the next 4 years of government, Insulate Britain actually care about our long-term future, your long-term future. So is blocking motorways and roads the way to actually highlight this? In my personal opinion, no. But that should not detract us from two very, very important issues here. Firstly, it really is vital that the government steps up to the plate and restarts this initiative. We have to do all and everything to reverse the effect of climate change, and we need to do it now. And in the scheme of things, this is pretty high up there on the list. Secondly, as a separate issue, too many cars on the road in itself is a major issue. And it's a shame that the motorway blocking protest could not have been used to highlight this issue specifically, with the punishment fitting the crime, if you like, which coincidentally was number 5 on the government's 10-point plan. As well as decarbonising private vehicles, we must increase the share of journeys taken by public transport, cycling and walking. We will therefore accelerate the transition to more active and sustainable transport by investing in rail and bus services, and in measures to help pedestrians and cyclists. We will fund thousands of zero-emission buses and give our towns and cities cycle lanes worthy of Holland. This will improve the air we breathe and increase both mental and physical health, as well as reduce emissions. Since that time, the government have done almost nothing to promote walking. And in terms of cycling, they've put in a few cycle routes. They've done quite a lot on cycling, I think, actually. But in terms of public transport, rail fares have actually increased by more than at any time in the last decade since November. So this is just more blah, blah, blah. And we need to bring the politicians to account for their blah, blah, blah. Even during this current man-made panic-buying fuel shortage, I have not heard one politician stand up and say, hey, what about, instead of queuing for petrol that you don't need, why don't you try and do less journeys in your car until this all blows over? You might even find you don't need your car as much as you think you do. And you'll be walking more or cycling more and you'll be more healthy. How about that? We need leadership like that. There are things that are within our control, our personal control to change. And there are things that really need to be driven by business and government. And for many of us, not all, but many, we could have chosen and can choose to drive less. But to get our leaky housing stock sorted, we need to get our government to stand up to the plate and do what they promised. And even if I was an overprivileged twat, which I'm not, by the way, I'm just a small part of the leaky British housing stock. Even today, they are still building new houses that will need to be retrofitted with heat pumps when gas boilers are finally phased out. That's just nuts, just on just about every level. And really, based on that knowledge, I think it is clear who the real criminals are here. It's not the guys who would risk fines and even 6 months in prison to safeguard our future, your future, but the people who will say almost anything to get elected and then do exactly the fucking opposite. Coming up next is the Angry People's Postbag, where this week Doris reads out this week's post sent in by Amy from Melbourne in Australia. So do stick around for that. But if you care about this stuff, and you should, please do subscribe to my channel and let me have your feedback and or questions. Let me know what I'm doing right, let me know what I'm doing wrong, let me know if there's anything you would like me to cover that I haven't covered already. And don't forget to hit the like button. Doing all or any of these things really does help me spread the word and hopefully affect positive change.
And now it's time for Angry People's Postbag with Doris.
So welcome back to this week's Angry People's Postbag. And this week's offering comes from Amy from Melbourne in Australia, who bizarrely thinks, for some reason, that I don't like Donald Trump. Doris?
Signs out all down Ramsey Street saying no parking next weekend for a bike race. Great, just one thing. Where are all those cars supposed to park? I feel sorry for anyone who has to put up with any more chaos on that street.
Can we get on with it?
What do we pay road taxes for?
No, can we really get on with it?
This guy is a Donald Trump hater, so you can probably ignore everything he says. He's probably one of those fucking liberals who can't be trusted. Global warming is fake news, and the snow in Texas actually prove it.
Thank you, Doris, and thank you, Amy. If you have enjoyed this video, found it interesting, or you'd just like to see more, you could try this one next, which takes a pop at Boris Johnson's green credentials, or even this one that addresses the idle rich in space. Oh, come on, I come from humble beginnings. I'm not an overprivileged twat. I'm barely even a privileged twat. I'm probably an underprivileged twat who has made good